Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Joni Young here. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to paint this minimal color limited palette landscape. I'm working on a 16 by 20 stretched canvas. I pre-painted it light gray. I just took a little bit of black and white, mixed it up, and applied 2 coats to an older canvas. And I have the following colors I'll be using for this painting today: Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, and some titanium white. So I'm just going to scoop out a little bit here with my palette knife and just add it to my palette here on the side. So I'm going to show you a lot of different techniques today and tricks for painting a forest, waterfalls, shadows, highlights, gradation. So stick around, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now let's go over the brushes that you'll need for this painting today. And don't worry if you don't have the same ones I'm using, just use whatever you've got and apply the same technique and brush stroke with them. Starting off with a large filbert, it's number 50. I'm going to use this for the background and the larger areas. I've got a number 20 flat, a 1-inch mop brush, a 14 filbert brush, and a number 3 round. I've also got a number 5 filbert brush for some of the larger trees. Okay, so let's go ahead with the very first step. What I want to do is get my filbert brush a little bit wet, and I'm going to take a bit of black, and I'm just going to go across the center. So a little bit of water, a little bit of black. I'm going to take just a little bit more water. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna now without washing my brush off. It still has a bit of black in there. I'm going to apply it down below as well, back and forth, side to side. And I'm going to start taking some white now with the burnt sienna. So a little bit on the end of the brush. I'm going to start applying it up top and then down below. Again, with a little bit of water, only if you need it. I'm going to go down into the darkest area in the middle a little bit. And I'm just going to soften the edges with a little bit more water on my brush, blending the sides out and leaving a little bit of the gray exposed. I'm going to take some more black and burnt sienna, and I'm going to add it a little bit higher here. Just scoop from this thick line that comes down in the center. Just scoop up a little bit. And same on this side. Straight across, and then start to go up on the side and scoop up. I'm going to add a little bit of water to my brush and then pull from the side, the edge of the canvas. The next thing I'm going to do is take my brush with just a little bit of water. So I'll just show you, take some of my water here. I'm just dipping the brush in to get it a little bit wet. I still got a bit of paint in there. And I'm going to just pull off of this wet paint here. If yours is dry already, just get a little bit more paint. Super easy. A bit of water, a little bit of black, and burnt sienna. This will start to look like some trees. I'm going to use my flat brush now. This is a number 20, it's about 1 inch in length. I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet, and I'm going to take some white. Now the paint underneath here is partially wet. You can add this step, apply this step on wet or dry paint underneath, so it doesn't matter, it's just the technique you're using. So what we want to do is make it look like misty waterfalls in the background. So I'm going to start with my brush on an angle. I'm going to come down, pull and drop. I'm going to thin my paint out with a little bit of water. This will make it look even softer in the background. And then we're going to just bring them up higher. Take a little bit more paint on the end of my brush. Then I'm going to start another layer. I'm just going to get my brush a little wet again. I've still got enough paint on the end there. And I'm going to leave a little area here, and I'm going to come down and start another layer right about 1 inch down from those. Pull towards the center and drop. A little bit more paint and water. Then I'm going to start to shake. See that? This is going to make it look like one of those fast moving waterfalls, kind of ruffly like. And then you can just add some that just come straight down. But see, you can pick up those other colors that are underneath by taking a bit of water on your brush and thinning the paint out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to add a few more layers. Take a little bit of my brown, burnt sienna, and I'm going to come down here. And then just pull across the top. You can really just add a whole bunch of these wherever you like. And then layer with thicker paint. We'll put some in the foreground here in front of those ones. And then we're going to come down here and just wiggle, just using the tip of your brush, and kind of just bloop, 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 bloop up and down while you're moving the brush. And then we're going to zigzag, kind of flat, moving around. And then picking up from the bottom, using the end of the brush to pull up like that. Let's take a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Come down the other way, that way, this way. You can just make so many different little areas with water coming down. With a clean brush, I'm going to take some more white on the end, and I'm going to make it a little brighter down here in the center. Keep those ruffles in there. So just shaking with your hand a little bit. You hear that little ticking noise? It's just my hair dryer. So sometimes it's helpful and beneficial to dry the layers off before coming in. So my paint was a little bit thick right there, so I just took my little hair dryer, a little bit more white here. So thin little scattered lines like this, and then full width of the brush. Just taking a little bit of white and water. Adding a little bit more. Shake, shake. Shake while you're coming down with a brush. And I'll add a little off to the side here. A little brown and white. A little bit of a splash. Okay, now I'd like to start working on the trees. So I'm going to be using my number 14 filbert brush. And by the way, I want to mention I have, as of right now, about 27 sets of brushes left, and that's all we're going to be making. This is it. The second release was the last one. So if you haven't got a set of my brushes yet, they're synthetic, cruelty-free brushes. I designed them, craft them, produce them, and ship them worldwide. They're wonderful brushes to use. I'm just going to get this filbert brush wet, and then I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of black, and I'm going to add a tree on an angle like this, leaning in, and one on this way, again leaning in towards the waterfalls. Bring it up a little higher, and then I'm going to leave a little space, about ½ an inch from the top before I start. I'm just going to start tapping lightly in the center, back and forth, side to side. Use a little bit more black as we get down lower here, so it's more visible. go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Again, leaving a little half an inch or so at the top before I begin pushing and tapping for my branches. I'm gonna add a little bit more black here as we get into this area, and it will show up more when we start to come in with our highlights. I'm going to take my brush and create some scoops or half circles for some rocks and some bits of ground over here. A little bit more black where we really want them to show up. I have a few larger ones here in the front. Then I'm going to take a little bit of water, thin that paint out, and I'm just going to pull, 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 just for some shadows. A little bit more burnt sienna on the tip of my brush. And I'm going to take white on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to add just a little bit on, see, just the treetop right there, just a little bit. And then I'm going to add this white over part of the branches. Remember not to cover too much up. We need the dark for light and the light for dark, vice versa. They need each other. Now your white, you don't have to use straight white. You can add a little bit of burnt sienna or a little bit of black, as long as it's going to be lighter than the background and show up. Push and tap, that's all you have to do, and see the beautiful texture and pattern you're left with. I'm going to add another one right here. This time I'm just going to come right in with a little bit of burnt sienna, white, and a bit of water, just to thin it out. And maybe I'll add right about here. Pushing and tapping, leaving a few spaces, just making it a little wider as it gets to the bottom. A little bit more of the burnt sienna now. Looks kind of like milk chocolate, or chocolate milk, I should say. See all the different values you get by adding less or more of each color. And then of course we're going to come in on the side with our dark chocolate, a mixture of Mars Black and burnt sienna. I really love working on these limited palette paintings. Let's come in here and add another little tree. It just shows you that you don't need a lot of colors to create a painting. Sometimes it's more relaxing to just have a softer palette like this, especially in these tones. Gonna add a little bit more to the water here. Kind of taking on almost like a soft peach color, isn't it? It's so many different tones in here. Could use it for our waterfalls too. Could add just a little bit more here. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. And I'm going to switch over to my 1-inch mop brush. For this brush, you don't want to add any water to it, not until you're completely finished using it. And then of course you want to wash it out like all your other brushes. But what I want to do is add a little bit of moss or low-lying soft little bushes. So what I want to do is just take a little bit of black and burnt sienna to start. See, not overly loaded, just a little bit. And I'm going to start by just coming along the side here, pushing and tapping. Add a little bit down here as well. A little bit along the edge there. Then because that brush has too much of the black and the brown in it, I want to grab a clean and dry brush, take a little bit of water, just lightly tap and load, and I'm going to add some highlights here. So I'm going to go over part of those bushes. I'm going to pull in just a little bit of burnt sienna here with a white. And I'm going to start tapping up here, and I'm going to use just the side and curl, 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 curl all the way up here. I think I might add a little staircase. I did a painting sort of similar to this in black and white only years ago, and I think I do have a tutorial for it. I'm going to add the link for that tutorial so you can see it and maybe give that one a try too if you like this one. So I'm just coming along the side here and adding another little tap, leaving a little space here for some stairs. Take a little bit more burnt sienna, come down here, add a little bit along the side, and then a little bit of white, and we'll just add a little bit of a highlight here just to give this a bit of height, so that maybe there's a path along here that comes in, and then we go up these stairs. Maybe we've got a little cottage or cabin here. I'm going to add a little bit, soften it just along the side there. I might add another little tree or something back there too after. Right here, I'm going to take my filbert brush, a little bit more white. It's blending in, getting lost with the background. So I'm going to add just a little bit of white and just catch some of the edges of those branches. Just going to gently wiggle into my burnt sienna and white. And we got another little tree right here. Just a little guy. Then a bit of white for a highlight. And I'm going to add some stairs. I'm going to take white, any light shade here. You can make a light brown shade as long as it shows up against the background. We've got a nice dark base here, so I'm going to just pull some lines in, and then they're going to get shorter. So I'll use less of my brush, and then just the corner, just tap, tap, tap for it to just disappear. Now a little bit of black and brown in here. I'm just going to cut through. I'm going to add another little bush here, so I've got another clean and dry mop brush. I'm going to add a little bit. We've already got a dark base there, so I'm going to go straight to my burnt sienna, add a little bit of brown, burnt sienna, brown, same thing, and then a little bit of white. I'm going to go along and partially over some of these stairs where they need to get narrower, and then just a little sweep and blend in there. I want to add a little bit more just right here in this area. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit of black, burnt sienna, and white, and I'm going to add a little bit of moss, trees, little bushes back here, little tap, little poles. Now that this white layer is dry, we can come over and add a little filter. I'm going to blend it out a little bit better with my flat brush. You may need a little bit of water in your brush for this, just enough to make the bristles a little bit moist. I'm going to take some burnt sienna and some white, and I'm just going to add a bit of a highlight over these rocks here. A little bit more on these waterfalls. Just brighten them up a little bit. go back over to my filbert brush, add a little bit more white on these trees. Now it's tinted just slightly with a little bit of burnt sienna, but there's definitely more white than the burnt sienna. You can always come in and add a few more trees, just building and building up the mountainside, cliffside, whatever this place is. Add a little bit of white over a few of these steps here. And a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of white, and I'm just going to come close, a little bit closer to the water's edge here. Pull in a little bit more of the burnt sienna along the side. I'm going to just scumble around a little bit here. And with another dry and clean mop brush, just a little tiny bit of white over that burnt sienna. I just want to make this a little softer and fluffier looking. Can make it look a little misty too, just by going around and little circles like this. Take a little bit of black, burnt sienna, and I'm gonna come and tap down here. I added a little bit of water because I just want to rinse this brush out after I finish adding a little bit more shadow down here. I'm going to take some white and create that soft gray base again, but a little bit darker now because we added that brown and black. And I'm going to take some white, a little bit of brown, and add just a little bit more light to these rocks. Then clean brush, black right at the base and in between them. Okay, now we can come in with our big trees. We'll add our big tree on this side first, and then I want to add a little cottage right here. Okay, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a big fir tree with a fan brush. I'm going to get my brush wet first. This helps the brush take and release the paint a lot better. Burnt sienna and black, and I'm going to start it right off the canvas. Tap or pull right down to here. A little bit more my burnt sienna. Okay, so you want to turn to load both sides. And I'm just going to start. So this tree starts way up here. This is at the top of the tree. Okay, then we've got our big tree there. Have some branches coming over this area here. And then I think that I can fit a tree right in here and still have my little cottage there. So I'm going to go just pull, turn, and load. I'm going to have a nice sweeping tree that comes out from down here. Now here on Vancouver Island, we see so many, I mean, you see them everywhere though. We see so many leaning and crooked trees. Those are the best ones. I love them. I think they add so much character. Okay, now I'm going to take my filbert brush and just add a little bit more branches in here. It's a smaller tree, so I can switch over to this brush. I prefer to use a filbert brush for trees, but I do want to demonstrate for you guys how to use a fan brush, because a lot of people use fan brushes and want to learn how to use them. Okay, now I'm going to add a little house, and I'm going to use my number 3 round brush. I'm going to get it just a little bit wet, and I'm going to add a few fence posts down here as well. I'm going to just start with a little line here and a little line there. A little bit of white now to make it show up a little bit better. Just a few little lines. take a little bit of black and brown. And a little bit of the black and brown, and I'm going to add a little triangle top here, and then I'm going to go across about an inch on an angle. Oh, I've got a little bit of white in my brush too, which is handy because I want to make the inside of the roof a lighter color anyways. So we want to start it with the dark base. Then I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of white, and I'll just come down in the center here, just pull a few lines across. Some black, I'm going to re-outline, down, over, pull. Just a few little lines here. A little line here for chimney. I'll take a little bit more white and I'm going to tap for the edge of the house. Maybe it's a log house. A little bit of white, and then you just want to use the tip of your brush, wiggle, 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 and then make it bigger and thicker for the smoke. A little bit of burnt sienna and white, and we'll just catch the edge of the roof line. A few little windows there. I'm going to take some more black and brown. I'm going to go over the tree trunk here, and I'm going to add some, with thick amounts of paint, some branches that hang kind of down here in the water. Add a little bit to the door here. And then just a little bit of black right inside. A little bit of white without washing my brush off. And then I'm going to take some white with a clean round brush. I'm just going to add a few little brighter highlights. And then from the bottom splash of the waterfall, I'm going to go and curve up like that. Kind of wiggle. Add some more highlights on the top. Just Just to make a few more of these really stand out. Don't forget to get a few shaky ones. I'm going to bring the fence down here a little bit, or bring it out a little bit farther. You really want to have that paint on the tip of your brush. Mix up a little bit more white with the black and the burnt sienna. With my flat brush, a little bit more white, just a little bit here. Yeah, another little highlight for these rocks. I'm also going to use my little toothbrush here that I didn't mention at the beginning of the video because I didn't know till now I was going to do this. I'm going to make a fine misting spray for the waterfall. So a little bit of water and white. And you know when you get that, all that spray down at the base of the waterfall. So we're just going to focus right in this area here and get a little bit more water on my brush and just go around and around to load the bottom of it. See that nice effect you get? And then as most of the paint is out, then you can spray a little harder and you'll get even finer misting for your waterfalls. Okay, well I hope you guys enjoyed this painting tutorial and that you learned a lot about painting trees and landscapes, highlights and shadows, just using a minimal palette of burnt sienna and black. You can use any shade of black or brown that you like. Same with white, and give it a try. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm going to wish you guys all the best. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye!